I'm in my DNS Manager console on a Windows 2022 Active Directory Domain Controller server, and what I'm going to do is create what's called a DNS policy. DNS policies were introduced in Windows Server 2016, and first I need to create the zone by right-clicking on the server and choosing to create a new zone. And the wizard comes up, and I'm going to call this one contoso.com. And then we're going to take a look at how to create this policy using PowerShell. I'm going to minimize my DNS Manager and take a look that there's 4 basic steps followed by a 5th step to view the policy you just created in order to create your DNS policy. There's many different types of policies out there. This particular policy is just basically going to do traffic management. Here we have a North American policy and a Europe policy. In this case, we're going to create subnets, scopes, and other records in order to have anyone from the North American location go to a specific subnet for a certain zone record inside contoso.com. Let's say it's the website. We don't want people from both continents going into the same IP address for websites because they won't get the fastest experience. So the European staff will end up using one subnet and the American staff will use another. So here's our 4 different steps. First, we need to create the DNS server client subnet. Now, before you start any of these steps, you have to create the zone, which I just did. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in those 2 different add DNS server client subnets, and those subnets are in. I specified IPv4, but you can also specify IPv6 if you'd like. Now I'm going to go to step 2. Step 2 is going to be to create the scope. The scope is going to apply to the specific subnets when we tie these all together in the upcoming commandlets. So I'm going to go back to my PowerShell and paste those in. And now we see the DNS server zone scopes have been created for contoso.com based on location. Now we go to step 3. Step 3 is going to be to create a resource record. If a zone doesn't have a resource record, then there's no way to refer to it when you want anything done. So we've got to create a resource record. In this particular case, it's going to be the www resource record. So to go to that particular record, you're going to need to go to those IP addresses based on location. So this is going to be the web server record. I'll paste those in. And that's done. Now I'm on to step 4. Step 4 takes the first 3 different commandlet sets and it ties them all together into a policy. So this is actually creating the policy itself. The first 3 were just setting it up. Now I'm going to create it. So I'm going to go back into PowerShell to create those 2 policies. And the policies are now created. So now what I want to do is the final step, which is to view the policy. So I've gone ahead and edited the get-DNS server query resolution policy commandlet with the dash name and then the name of the policy and the zone name, which is contoso.com. So I'm going to go ahead and type the first one in and we'll take a look and make sure that that policy now exists. And there it is, the North American policy. And I've typed in the same command but with Europe policy, and it shows that as well. As mentioned earlier, the ultimate goal here is to have anyone who wants to visit the website for contoso.com in Europe to go to one IP address for the fastest response and the other for the Americas to go to the other address. And there are many different policies that you can create. Go to learn.microsoft.com and read more about the different DNS policies you can create on your Windows 2022 DNS server.